Good morning, everybody. It's the Pollinator, and yeah, this is gonna be a tough one. So I'm gonna be planning on this, so I don't be flipping through. I'm a paper hoarder, so I got all this paper in front of me, and I have listened back on some of the vlogs that I make as after I upload them, and yeah, quite a few times I be rustling papers, and I don't mean to distract people that way, but I don't even realize I'm doing it. So I'll just have something in my hand that doesn't sound like paper rustling. Anyway, it's been a minute. It's been quite a while since I made my last vlog, and just a lot going on, and me having health issues, trying to get this eye healed, and also having feet problems. I have neuropathy and arthritis in both of my feet, and the VA is not being very responsive about handling any of that, let alone getting it diagnosed. You know, the title of this vlog is going to have something to do with binary people, and it was spurred on by a video I saw, a live that I saw on the Fuck Up platform by a trans woman who was going left, right, upside down about the issue of gender nonconforming. And I'm not going to talk about that particular issue because I don't, she said enough to get a lot of people thinking about that particular topic. But I wish I knew how to edit these videos, but the software that I've been trying to put on my computer to edit these videos, I don't know how to use. It's a large learning curve, and the ones that aren't a large learning curve are expensive. And I'm on a very, very tight budget. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this issue of binary because it's got a lot of pieces involved in it that I'm concerned about, that I find problematic about it when it comes to binary and non-binary, and the fact that there is a movement, somewhat of a movement going on where non-binary people are trying to get rid of gender, which is absolutely going to be impossible. But while they're doing that and confusing the hell out of this cisgender heterosexual community that doesn't understand transgender people in the first place, it's creating this stigma of being binary. Look, folks, we have to come from binary people. There is no way around that. There is no way to eliminate binary. We just have to live and educate inside of the context of binary people controlling the planet. That's not going to change, no matter how much people complain, no matter how much people are avoiding the stigma of being associated with either male or female, no matter what people try to do to be inclusive of people who don't believe in genders, even though they were born one or the other or both. That is that's like trying to ignore racism and saying, it doesn't exist because we say it doesn't exist, or we are suffering from cognitive dissonance, the fact that, we do exist, and a lot of people thinking racism doesn't exist. And inside of that context, many of us have become the invisible men. you know, I am we're stuck out on front getting the rights, fighting for the rights of transgender people while these non-binary people are not. They're just riding on the coattails of what binary people have done and then spitting in our eye for being binary, for being identified as binary. Look, it's hard enough when cisgender people don't think we're binary. Intersex people don't believe we're binary, man or woman. I'm just going to speak from the trans man experience. I'm not going to speak for the trans woman experience. They get enough press. But and we are having issues with even transgender women seeing us as men. So you've got the cisgender people not seeing us that way, trans men that is. Then you've got the transgender women side of our community not seeing and respecting us as men. I mean, they will mistake us for studs, lesbian studs, or masculine, something or another like that. I talk with a lot of people. I see a lot of things. And right now, a lot of trans men are feeling discouraged. They're feeling down because we don't seem to fit inside of anybody's society. One way or the other, we're being spit at for being binary. You know, a lot of them, without even knowing who you are, without even knowing your heart, without even knowing your personality, without knowing anything like that, automatically assume if you're binary, then you're conforming to a gender construct in society. And that is so not true. I am who I am because that's who I am, and that's who, you know, that's just how I am. I never think of who I am in terms of, oh, I was persuaded by family or society to be a trans man, to be a man. And no, that is not how it happened at all. I decided what kind of man I'm going to be. But I never had any trouble trying to back in my day, we called people who are non-binary androgynous people, who sometimes well, in the lesbian world they were androgynous. If sometimes they woke up and felt like presenting masculine, and some days they woke up and felt like presenting feminine, and some variations in between. But see, I wake up every day the same way. I don't wake up and want to be one way one day and one way another day. And it is causing a lot of confusion in the cisgender heterosexual community and making it very hard for them to take us seriously with all the splintering that's going on within the transgender community. In fact, I think it was yesterday that I saw a post by a guy on that platform that asked, you know, we need to create a term, a different term for trans man, for transgender, because everybody and their mother is trying to get under that umbrella who doesn't belong under the umbrella transgender. Now, you know, it takes me back to a live I did with a gentleman that we talked about gatekeepers. And I think about that today, and, you know, without gatekeepers in society, things can become very chaotic, very, you know, there's at least 25 labels under the LGBTQ and a whole bunch of other acronyms under that. And to be inclusive of every single one of them, I think is problematic, and it's a mistake. And I link this also back to, you know, as I watch Jim Crow, being enacted in our face 24/7. I did not think I would live long enough to see that crap again. Without one law being enacted, without one policy being enacted, it's just a mood and an entitlement issue that white folks are coming out of the fucking closet and implementing Jim Crow type behavior all over again. And I never thought I would live to see that again. I thought it was gone until idiot got elected, and then he has emboldened all of the racist assholes in this country, and I am now feeling the way Malcolm X felt and a lot of our civil rights leaders in the 1960s, in that integration was probably the biggest mistake we've ever made in this country, is to integrate and not have our own, and have the gatekeepers of our community be people who were not down for the progression of our people. So by the same token, the reason why my organization is not inclusive of non-binaries is because the same thing is happening there. They want to take the issue of being black first and then all these labels later and push the label first. See, I had to look at it as a collective. It's not my own personal beliefs, even though I would have to manage that inside of that conversation. And boy, they do not want to stay on the topic of being black. They want to take it to being non-binary. And collectively, we can't afford that distraction, because none of these labels is what people see first. What they see first is the color of our skin. That is the part that we have to heal and stop running from. All of these organizations around the country all want us to join on their bandwagon, and I'm not going to until they're willing to jump on the bandwagon and tackle racism, systemic oppression, and all of the slave mentality disorder, all of the things that have put us under the bus for over 400 years. I'm just not willing to do it. I had an interview with a gentleman from the NCTE earlier this week, or I'm sorry, last week, actually last weekend. And he was asking a lot of questions about what kind of involvement that I have with activism in my local area. And I really didn't answer that question because I wasn't thinking about it before we got in that interview. But the truth of the matter is, I am not going to be persuaded through peer pressure to jump on these bandwagons that are not addressing the issue of race. Every other day, we're getting killed. Every other day, we're getting abused. Every other day, we're getting harassed. Every day, 24 hours a day, we're being oppressed. But nobody wants to address that. They want to look at everything around that as though being black isn't the primary issue. And I find that absurd. By the same token, being binary in a world that is binary dominated, and then being spat at by TERFs and feminists and whatever the hell you want to call them, inside of that particular movement, as a collective, it is causing distrust, it is causing animosity, it is causing hostility. And until that side quits taking advantage of the efforts of the pioneers of this movement and respect of the pioneers of this movement that are binary, they don't have any right to complain and need to make a big fat ass amends for not trying to live with all of us included, but they want to be included while trying to disclude us. Change your pronouns, don't use pronouns, all of that stuff. I'm sorry, if you look one way, that is the pronoun that's going to jump in my head. English is full of labels, but yet you've got a whole bunch of people who have problems with labels, as though, okay, well, when it comes to nouns and everything else, we're fine with it. Oh, but when it comes to labels of sexuality and gender and all this other stuff, no, we got a problem with that. Get over yourselves, people. And some of the, and this is just what I'm seeing, some of the stigma associated with it is, A, perhaps they're afraid they'll lose their lesbian card. B, perhaps they fear they're going to lose a lot of things if they associate with either binary. Let us do all the hard work. Let us get beat up. Let us get killed. And then they can reap the benefits without having to be one way or the other. And yeah, that lady who spoke, she was very fired up because she was talking to somebody that was pretty new in the transgender community and was arguing with her about the existence, about what gender nonconforming means. And she read her and told her what time it was because she was around when all of that stuff started. She'd been transitioning for, 20 years or so. But, and then you've got inside of the community, inside of the transgender community, we've got people standing on one side or the other with it and still drowning out trans men. And I'm like, what is that about? Really? I saw one young man try to defend that, like, well, they've been involved in the movement since the beginning. Well, so are we. There's certain meetings I won't go to in this area because it's very clear the trans women don't give a shit about the trans men. And then I see that as indicative around the country that, they're a lot more boisterous and loud, and they have a lot more resources because of the world they came from, which is usually the gay world, the gay male world, where HIV was very prominent. And so another bandwagon to jump on that's still ignoring trans men. So, and yeah, I was in another group last week, and some guy had a milestone, or person had a milestone, and is in a trans man group. And somebody said, "Congratulations, man." And the first thing that person didn't say was "thank you." The first thing they said was "don't call me man." Why is that an ugly word? Why is that gender ugly to him? To them. And when you look at their profile, definitely looks like a man. So it's very confusing. Because, as long as I'm alive, and probably as long as all of us are alive, you will never, ever, ever get rid of the fact that people see with their eyes the way you present. And if you present male, they're going to call you a man. If you present female, they're going to call you a female. And these people wanting to get rid of binary words, don't have enough of a foundation or language built around them to replace binary words. So, and how are they going to replace binary words without getting rid of binary people? And how are they going to get born? How are they going to become to life if it doesn't involve sperm and egg? It's the only way human beings can be born, folks. So it doesn't do any good to spit at binary people. Not cisgender, not transgender, and not intersex people who choose one gender or the other. So again, for me, the reason why I don't include non-binaries right now in my organization is because of these nuances and because of this infighting and because of the fact that they can't seem to keep their mind off of their lack of gender. When my organization is very clearly about being pro-black, it's not being about being transgender. So I thought about starting it small and empowering binary people. We're the ones getting the shit kicked out of us and having to be not stealth in order to fight for the rights of people who want to be stealth, including non-binary people, which I think is part of that. They can really be stealth as that. So, but you know, somebody's got to be on the front lines doing the work. And if they're going to be ungrateful wretches about the work that is done by the pioneers before them, then they don't deserve to have their rights stuck up for. If they're going to spit at you and then say, oh, help me, help me, help me. Spit, spit, spit. No. Not going to get that kind of help. Now, I feel bad. On one hand, yeah, everybody deserves to be fought for. Well, I need to recant that. Not everybody deserves to be fought for. Not everybody is appreciative of what other people have had to do for them to be who they are, including veterans of the armed services. We served our country for people's rights and freedoms to be assholes, to be racist, to be bigots, to be discriminatory. We fought for everybody's right to be that way. Yet they want to spit in the eye and in the face of veterans, transgender veterans, who had to serve as the wrong gender and still did a bang-up job protecting your freedoms. Now, I don't happen to believe, you know, today I would never join the armed forces because I see now how undervalued we are anyway. You know, look at the man that got shot in the fucking face at the mall. He was a veteran. You think that mattered when they shot him? You think they asked those kind of questions before they shoot? No, all they saw was a man with a gun, a black man with a gun. White men with guns don't threaten society the way a black man with a gun does. They automatically assume that if you have a gun and a carry license to carry that gun, that you're a criminal. That is what they see first. They don't ask questions. They shoot first, and then they find out afterwards who that person was. And I'm not going to mention his name because I actually forgot. But I'm terrible with names. But it was recent. You know, another black man dead because white people are so threatened by our existence in this country that they, you know, the police, which I call the KKK cops, KK cops, don't give a shit about us. So inside of all of this stuff that's going on around the country, you know, I have been very discouraged lately, which is why I haven't made a vlog in a while. That in the elections, what happened down here in Georgia was disgusting. The amount of voter suppression that happened down here, throwing away ballots, doing all the shit that they did, and then not owning up to it. Look, right now, Republicans will cheat to stay in office. And the other side, and I'm nonpartisan, I don't have an affiliation uh, to a party right now. I was a Democrat all of my life. And when I saw the shit that happened, started seeing the stuff in 2016, I got disgusted with both parties. So I'm an independent. And I vote whichever way I feel like voting, for whoever I feel like voting for. But I myself don't have any affiliation with them. But I said, I've lost my train of thought of why I said that. Something about voting, the voter suppression bullshit that went on down here. I was very disappointed that the woman that ran against Kemp did not get elected, and he cheated in order not to. She did a bang up job of rallying the vote down here, and still lost to that motherfucker's cheating. And then the asshole and our dictator in charge of this country right now, running around the country trying to make sure to rally white folks around these assholes. It's absolutely tremendous. It's so obvious that he's a racist. So very obvious, because when faced with somebody black getting in office, that man will come and cock block that effort every single time. Doesn't matter where they are in this country. He'll jump on a plane and go down there and rally the white folks, the white racist folks, to vote for the candidate that don't need to be there no more. They're so afraid of losing power and control that they'll do absolutely anything to suppress their way and cheat their way into remaining in office, including him. China and Russia bought that motherfucker into the office. And it's just a matter of time before that comes out. People like Mueller and whatever are trying to get to that information, but he's got so many, he's in so many people's pockets, and so many people are in his pocket, that he will probably suppress that information or try to keep that information from going public the entire time he's in office. If he thinks anybody's getting close to exposing him, they get fired. That's a form of cheating too. The will of the people do not matter to this strand of Republicans, like the strand of flus. There's definitely a freaking virus going on in this country, and its name starts with DT, who is totally appealing to people's fears of being of other kinds of people getting a leg up, or getting their rights, or getting any kind of thing. In fact, we're getting stripped of everything. Be you black, be you transgender, be you LGBT. I think, and I'm not on that bandwagon either, because I see the racism inside of the LGBTQ. That's why I don't belong to any of those organizations. And for organizations that belong to them, I'm not doing that by association neither. We got bigger fish to fry, which is the fact that we're black. We are the underclass in America. We are the ones they're wiping their feet on publicly, legally, in this country. So yeah, I am empowering men to become leaders, not people who don't know what the hell they are to become leaders. And then once that is grounded, once we, feel a sense of empowerment, not freedom. We all have to fight for our freedom the rest of our lives. But once we are empowered, then, and only then, will we be able to reach out to those other groups and who want to be dragged along? They don't want to do any work. They just want to be dragged along. That's the problem I have with them. They want to reap the benefits without doing any work. It's the problem I have with people being stealth. Them too. Because without people who aren't stealth, they wouldn't have their right to be stealth. They wouldn't have access to HRT. They wouldn't have access to surgeries. They wouldn't have any of that access if it wasn't for people who weren't stealth, who spoke up and got the whole medical industry to jump on board with that. Now, it happened to be driven by capitalism too, but without people who weren't stealth, that wouldn't have never happened. So stop spitting at us. I was in a relationship, a thankless, non-appreciative relationship, where I'll be damned if I'm going to do all the doggone work, not be appreciated for, be spat at, and all these other things, and continue to do it. That's abuse. So by the same token, we're being abused by people who want our help. Ain't gonna happen, not on my watch it's gonna happen like that. People want our help, they better be willing to let the people that are in charge do it their way. Not. If they want to do it their way, make your own movement. But I'll never, it never ceases to amaze me how people are upset that I am not inclusive of every kind of transgender person under that transgender umbrella, because I don't believe some of them are trans. Now, they're trans as in transitioning. Many non-binary people do take those steps to transition, but I literally saw in a group, I saw it with my own eyes, I saw it in writing, that this non-binary person said, yeah, I'll lie and tell them I'm binary just so I can get access. Then I can go back to being non-binary. And I'm like, see, that is what pisses us off. Yeah, if you are non-binary and you say that, you won't get access to the health care, to the surgeries you need. Because they're binary surgeries. They're either taking off the top here, or they're giving you a penis. Those are binary genitals. So what exactly, what? Okay, I'm going to stop wallowing in that because I'll just end up confused and upset, but that makes no sense to me, that you would want either of those things, but yet have a problem with saying you're a man. Flip side for transgender women. But, so yeah, I also saw in a group that I'm in, it's actually a local group I go to here in Atlanta that also has a presence on social media, that somebody was trying to talk about this division going on between trans women and trans men in the black community. Well, in the transgender community. I'm not sure if it was a black community, but literally trans men weren't asked to the table and transgender women are running the show. Now look, they're not doing this incidentally. They're not doing this by accident. I am under no illusion that they don't want us at that table because they want to be in control. They don't want the light shined on, well, they're glory hogs, and they don't want that light shined on us. They don't understand our issues. I've had a whole bunch of transgender women say something like, well, why would you want a penis? Why would you want a vagina? I mean, that just blew me away, how somebody who is a transgender woman, had been a transgender woman for 20 years, suddenly doesn't understand why a transgender man would want a penis. I don't have words of why, of all people, they should be the most understanding of why. Um, and that's not the first time I've seen that. This blows me away, the amount of ignorance within our community. Now, how are we going to help the cisgender heterosexual community become unconfused about us if we're confused about us within the spectrum of being transgender, men or women? How are we going to reach across that table if we ain't even understand each other and what motivates each other? All I know is it's a reality, and I'm still seeing double, folks. It's definitely a reality that our presence isn't wanted in the transgender community, and that, I've seen it locally, and I've seen it on social media. I've seen it physically with my eyes and my emotions, and my mentality. I've seen it, and I've experienced it in droves on social media, that we are the invisible men. They don't want to take us seriously as men, and they don't respect us as men. The men that we say that we are. That has to be confined inside of the fact that we were born with the wrong genitals, and have to correct that, have to affirm that with surgeries, which a lot of us don't have access to. I don't. I'm an elder. I don't have a job with civilian insurance that can pay for it. So I'm having to find other ways. Well, there is no way right now for me, which has been bothering me a lot, because I know I need this. And when it comes to black people and GoFundMe's, white people can get away with that because they have access to people who have access to money. But anytime I've seen black people put GoFundMe's out to help with surgeries, they're not getting much, unless they're popular and kissing some organization's ass. And that's not often. And so yeah, we don't have the same kind of resources and clout as transgender women do, who used to be gay men. And I'll tell you something right there about the economy around them. The economy around us before we transitioned was women. That was the economy we were stuck in. Didn't make as much on the dollar as men. Didn't have as many resources as men. So transgender women bring that kind of clout to that movement and leave us out of it. We don't have that kind of clout unless we jump in bed with gay men or lesbians. Well, shit, lesbians don't like men, so they have an issue with us. But transgender women are just as standoffish as lesbians about men, about us. How are we going to, I don't know how I don't know the solution right now. I'm working that out in my head, and I'll be working on that in my, with my organization. But, together we stand, divided we fall. And I see a whole lot of people committed to falling. And as long as I see they're committed to that, or being in control, which is division, which is falling, I'm not going to be down for that. I'm also not involved in the ballroom scene. That's all a competition thing, and so I don't see that as forwarding the movement of black transgender people. And in fact, that particular arena is all about the ballroom scene, and is not about being black. It's not. It's just a bunch of black people who ignoring the issue of race, ignoring the issues of being black and seeing black first, and then transgender later. I'm not that kind of ignoring that particular issue is suicide to me. So that is why I started my own movement that wasn't going to ignore the number one public enemy, which is us, which is being black. That's why black transgender women get killed by black men. Black people is way much more of a stigma in the black community than it is the white community. And so, you know, people to keep undercover, they will hurt them. So, you know, with their visibility comes that consequence of being so visible that, you know, they suspect that, you know, they give way to harm. They're getting harmed. They're getting killed. Do we want that as trans men? No. But there's so many trans male activists running around that is just amazing. They haven't found them and brought them to the table if they want us to fight with them. Gonna fight with them. We're gonna be partners, not this dominance factor in there where they're in charge. No, we both got to be in charge. Trans men, trans women. We all have to have responsibility for the movement, or we're not going to have any at all. They're just going to continue to do their thing over there. And then complain that we're not on board with them. Well, if they're not treating us like partners, why should we? If they want us to be followers of them when we're leaders, well, that's going to kill who we are and what we bring to the table. So they're not making any sense. And if they want trans male advocates, there's a whole bunch of them out there. The problem is they don't want them, and they're not saying that out loud because that's not politically correct to say that. They're saying it with their actions. So anyway, I wanted to make this video before I go vote. There's another, I don't know whether they're calling it a runoff. It's not a runoff. They use words for other words, you know, around the country these days. Remember the Y2K bug that they called Y2K bug in the year 2000? It was not a bug. And anybody who was in the industry at the time, in the computer industry at the time, knew it wasn't a bug, and that the media got a hold of it and called it that when that's what it was. It was a design flaw. Nobody foresaw when software came out that they'd need a 4-digit year instead of 2 digit. That's what it was. And so there's a mad dash to make that digit 2 so that when the year 2000 came along, the computers around the world didn't think it was 1900 and actually realized it was 2000 before it broke everything. But this thing about runoff, we didn't vote for them on November the 6th, so why are they calling themselves a runoff? No, they're being voted for. The Secretary of State and some other positions in this state are being voted on for the first time in 2 years. So why are they calling it a runoff? I don't know, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to do my part. You know, if I don't vote, I don't have a right to complain about nothing. If you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain about nothing either, because that is where it's going to count. So I hope my trans brothers see this video and do go vote if they live in Georgia. As for all the other things I've said, you know, it's just food for thought. It's as the Pollinator sees it. You know, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. But one of these days, people are going to respect their elders again and realize that we have wisdom and experiences that they do not have, and we do have something to bring to the table, our experiences and our wisdom about them. That would do a lot to, you know, so that we have something to pass down to these young people. But if they're not listening to us, they'll just make it up and run with whatever what they're running with. and not check in with their leaders, with their elders. Um, yeah, before we die, pick our brains. It's what I did to become successful in my field, to become successful as a speaker, to become successful at anything I've done. I've had to pick people's brains that knew more than I did about it. That wasn't a crime. I guess it's a crime now. So anyway, everybody have a blessed rest of their week. It's really cold out here. So I'm going to be freezing when I go outside. But I hope I brought something to the table. I also don't do these videos a lot because, you know, if you look down in the description of these videos, there's a link in there, a PayPal link, that I have not pushed it, but that I was hoping people noticed it and found value in the things that I speak about enough to throw me a few dollars, throw me some bones. There's also a subscription button, I think, over on that side that you can click to subscribe without, well, there's multiple buttons you can click on YouTube to subscribe to my channel if you like the content of what you see. And but yeah, we're not supporting each other financially, and we absolutely have to in order to get out from under this systemic oppression. And I do think I bring value to people's lives with my videos. So if you appreciate it, I don't care if it's $1, $5, or whatever, just something to show me your appreciation. Otherwise, I'll just make these things when I feel like it, when I get around to it. That's why I don't do it regularly, because everybody wants something for free. And I'm a struggling elder living on a fixed income, and I need help too. And so I've had to resupply myself, my self-esteem, my motivation, and all sorts of other things, because people think I'm so strong I can never be weak, and that is so not true. In the last couple of weeks, in the last few months, I have been weak because of my health and my emotions. I have been depressed about what is going on in this country, about what's going on for my people. Anyway, everybody have a great day, and